I was building an empire for her, and she was building a lie. My wife cheated on me for years with a driver I hired myself. Her friend sold me the truth for $20,000. And that truth broke me, because it turned out that I had not only lost my wife, I had never been a father to our youngest daughter. My plane landed 6 hours early. The off-site business meeting with investors in Florida went extremely well. We signed a contract for several million. It was a big win. For the firm. For me. And, as I thought at the time, for our family. I wanted to make a surprise. I bought flowers at the airport, expensive wine, even stopped by a children's store and picked up a teddy bear for my youngest. She was going to turn 1 in 3 weeks, and I wanted to show her that despite all the work I was doing, I remembered. I am here. I am a father. I lived with my wife, Julia, for 10 years. We had an older daughter, Emily, who recently turned 10. She is smart, kind, very sensitive. She has always been more like me, a little reserved, observant, and sensitive to the atmosphere. And then there was the house, our house, my trophy, my piece. 7 bedrooms, a spacious kitchen, a fireplace, and a pink-walled nursery that Julia had ordered for the birth of her youngest. I did everything to make sure my girls had everything. I was convinced that all this was not just my life. This is my foundation, my rear. I stopped at the entrance to our estate. The sun was already starting to set, and the evening light was gently falling on the lawn. I got out of the car with a package of gifts. A smile appeared on my face. And then I saw Emily. She was in the yard, near an old oak tree, spinning on a swing. I called out, "Kitty, hi. Where's Mommy?" Emily looked up, a little embarrassed. "Dad? Are you home already? Surprise!" I smiled, winked. "What are you doing here alone?" Mom said, "Not to come in. She's busy. She said she had an important meeting, and that I should go out." I froze. "Busy? A meeting?" She said again that no one was allowed to come in. That's what Mom said. Not even me. I felt a twinge in my stomach. An inexplicable cold went down my back. I didn't panic, but something was wrong. I went into the house. The hallway was quiet, too quiet. Everything looked normal, but it was in the silence that something alien was hiding. I heard a faint cry, faint but disturbing, like a call. The crying came from the little girl's room, Lily. I threw my things on the table and went there quickly. Lily was lying in her crib, all red with tears. Her cheeks were in tears. Her hands were trembling. She had obviously been awake for some time, but no one could hear her. I immediately took her in my arms and began to calm her down. Her crying turned into sobbing. "Shoo! Daddy's here. It's okay, princess, it's okay." My heart was beating frantically. I was no longer trying to find logic. Only one thing was pulsating in my head. Where the hell is Julia? I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, and just as I reached the door, it burst open. Julia came running out. Her hair was disheveled. Her shirt was half-buttoned. Her face was frightened. "Are you home already?" Her voice was trembling, but not with joy. Behind her, Steve came out. Our driver. We've had him for over 5 years. I had hired him when Julia found it difficult to handle Emily, then a toddler when I was away on business trips. Steve always seemed calm and quiet. He drove, helped with the shopping, carried the bags, and sometimes took the kids to school. He was part of the family. I trusted him. And now he left my bedroom. From my wife's. In a t-shirt. With mussed hair. "What's going on here?" Julia immediately started talking. "It's not what you think. I just asked him to help me. We were going to leave. I didn't have time to pack. I asked him to bring my bag. I didn't say anything." There was no joy in Emily's eyes when I went outside. There was guilt, but not hers. In the evening, when Julia had already gone down to the kitchen and was trying to pretend that everything was fine, I went to Emily. We were sitting in the living room. She was playing with a construction set. "Baby, tell me honestly, does this happen often?" She was silent. "You can trust me. You know that Daddy will always protect you." She looked into my eyes and said quietly, "Yes, Mommy tells me to go out in the garden with Lily, and then Steve comes in. and the door closes. They talk for a long time. Sometimes they laugh. I didn't ask any more questions. I just sat down on the chair, and I felt my world cracking, quietly, slowly, but inevitably. The next morning, I was woken up not by the alarm clock, but by the aroma of fresh coffee. I lay in bed, trying to figure out whether it was a dream or reality. Coffee with a hint of cinnamon. I loved it, but I always made it myself. I went down to the kitchen, and there she was, Julia, wearing an apron, smiling, with toast on a plate and sliced avocados. "Hi, I thought you deserved a good breakfast." "Nice to meet you," I said carefully, sitting down. "Are we celebrating something?" "It's just, I realized how little time we spend together. I want to change that." Her eyes were warm. Her smile was gentle. But something inside me cracked. This wasn't her style. This was not Julia. It was a copy of her. Perfect and fake. She used to not hide her fatigue. She spoke directly if she was not in the mood. Now she was too gentle, too tidy, too polite, too diligent. And also, Steve didn't come home anymore. He didn't stop by, he didn't ask, he didn't help with the shopping. He didn't even show up when Julia was supposed to take Emily to practice. I asked her, "Where's Steve? Did he quit?" "No. I just decided that we'd have to do it alone for a while. He took a few days off." I told him I could manage. It was hard for me to believe in the accident. It was as if they both suddenly became more cautious. I noticed how she started to keep her phone with her at all times. She didn't even leave it in the bathroom. She doesn't put it on the table, doesn't charge it in the kitchen. It's always either in her pocket or in her hands. One evening, when I couldn't find my phone, I went to her. She was sitting in the living room, flipping through something in silence. "July, give me your phone for a minute. I'm going to call Derek. I have a business call, and mine is gone." Her reaction was immediate. She flinched. Not just surprised. She went into a brief shock. Her hands clenched, her fingers slid down the screen, and she instinctively clutched the phone to her side. "Why mine? Let me call him myself. Or we'll find yours." I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. And at that moment I realized that she was hiding something. I remembered last night. She was sitting in the car for a long time after a trip to the store. I watched from the window as she wrote something. Her eyes were darting across the screen. Her finger was quickly sliding across the keyboard. At the time, I thought it was a trivial thing. Maybe one of her friends. But today, her body told the truth. Her eyes were scared. Her hands weren't protecting the phone. They were protecting a secret. I started to remember the little things. Small Blue Diamond knew passwords on her laptop. The accidentally changed PIN code on the garage door. And the way she asked me when her next business trip would be. Too soon. Too soon. Everything fit into a puzzle. Imperfect, but already with the silhouette of betrayal. I could no longer sit in silence. But I didn't want to make the mistake of making a scene without clear evidence. I did not scream. I didn't organize interrogations. I just said to myself, trust logic, not words. I didn't want to do anything stupid. I was tempted to tell her everything directly. I know. To make a scene, to look her in the eye, to force her to tell the truth. But I wasn't new to business, and I had learned the hard way that emotions are always the cheapest currency. I didn't want to just talk it out. I wanted to know, clearly, with facts, not guesswork. And for that, I needed a professional. An old friend of mine, Logan, had a company that dealt with smart security systems. We used to work together. He installed cameras in my first office. I called. I need to install something in my house, delicately, without leaving a trace. Everything okay? He asked immediately in a tone I recognized. You're not the first person to call with that tone. Not really, but I want to know for sure. Without emotion. We agreed. As soon as there was a window, he would come. And the window came pretty quickly. Julia had a routine checkup with Lily. As usual, she insisted on going with the driver, not me. You're tired enough, she said. Why waste a working day? I nodded. He smiled. I wished her a good day. And as soon as she closed the door behind her, Logan was on his way. 2 hours later. During this time, we did everything. Small orange diamond microcams. In the living room, corridor, and nursery, in case she was on the phone there. Audio recorder under the coffee table and behind a decorative lamp near the sofa. System with a coded channel to my laptop and phone. Logan left a small device that could read the signals of neighboring gadgets so that in case of emergency, I could see who was using a microphone or camera nearby. Everything was set up so that even I barely noticed. We removed the traces, erased the prints. 10 minutes before the car with Julia returned, Logan was already a block away. The first few days, nothing. Nothing at all. Steve showed up only once, brought a few packages. He was outside all the time. No unnecessary movements. Julia was like a textbook ideal wife. She cooked, smiled, didn't linger in the bathroom, didn't disappear without explanation. It looked almost theatrical. But that's what worried me. On the 7th day, the first failure occurred. I received a recording, a call. Julia's voice. She was talking to someone, a woman's voice. I didn't recognize it. I just can't take any more risks. Do you understand? He doesn't look at me the same way anymore. I can feel it. And Steven? He's acting like an idiot. I told him to stay away from the house. If it all falls apart, I'll be left with nothing. But you said so yourself. I did. But now it's different. Now everything is on the edge. And I won't let myself lose everything. And if he knows, then I have to be even more careful. Because I can't lose this life. I live differently. And I don't want to go back there. I listened to the tape 3 times. I didn't shake. I didn't scream. But something switched inside me. She doesn't love me. She's not even sorry. She's afraid of losing her comfort. And that's the only reason she's around now. I went to the kitchen. I poured myself some water. I looked out the window. Okay, Julia, I said out loud, if you're playing for preservation, then I'm playing for complete destruction. I couldn't concentrate on my work anymore. In the office, I sat staring at the monitor while my colleagues discussed deals. Business partners were sending me messages and I just didn't open them. My thoughts were not on numbers and contracts, but back home. To her and him. Every time my phone gave me a notification from the camera, my heart would shrink like a spring. I opened the file and was afraid to look at it. Because if it was true, it would break me. I watched her. 4 hours. Sometimes I just put my laptop next to her and watched her walk around the house out of the corner of my eye. Her movements, her eyes, her pauses between words with the children. She became more careful. Too focused. Like an actress who doesn't want to spoil the scene. And everything in me was clamoring. What if she's really cheating on me? What if this is not paranoia but reality? But I love her. I lived for her. For our family. For our children. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's just changed. Just a little tired. Maybe she just wanted to flirt innocently. Maybe I didn't spend enough time with her. I just don't want to know. But it was too late. The cameras don't lie. And the truth was coming. This time I received a recording with audio, living room, early evening. Julia was sitting with a friend I hadn't been able to stomach for a long time. Amelia. She came into our lives about 3 years ago after some party where they crossed paths. She was spectacular. Too spectacular. Always with a new hair color, with a voice that sounded as if every word was a dramatic line from a TV series. She often changed men, all wealthy, with cars, bills, yachts. None of them stayed for long. She seemed dangerous to me. Someone who destroys everything she touches if it can't provide for her. And now she was sitting in my house with a glass of wine, talking too loudly and too frankly. And he just went crazy. Can you imagine? He said, I want children, stability, a family. And I told him, honey, I want Costa Rica, not diapers. You know I hate children. He even said I was lifeless inside. Can you imagine? Julia laughed, but a little strained. Come on, he doesn't realize that you're just free. They're all the same. They want to be left alone. And what am I, a chicken on a farm? I'll find myself a new one. Preferably a millionaire from Miami. And no children. Just give me a card and goodbye. And they both started laughing. I started to feel sick. Not from her words, but from the fact that my wife was laughing with her. Then, towards the end of the conversation, I heard a phrase that hit me like a cold shower. By the way, how are you doing? Amelia asked. Everything is quiet. I'm being very careful. He started to notice the little things, so I'm smoothing out the corners. Do you think he knows? Maybe, but he has no proof. Well, you don't want to lose a life like that. That's why I'm being careful. I'm not going back to where I came from. Ever. Back to where I came from. Those words were like a door slamming in my face. I turned off the recording. I sat in the dark. I looked at the screen. She's not afraid of losing me. She's afraid of losing my home, my status, my money, my resources, my last name. And yet she laughs with those I would never have allowed into our home if I knew who they were. I still wanted to disbelieve. Part of me screamed, maybe it's just words. Maybe it's just a game. Maybe it's an exaggeration. Maybe. But the other part, the man who had spent 10 years of his life with this family, could no longer believe blindly. 5 more days passed. 5 fruitless, painful days, sleepless nights. I would wake up before everyone else, turn on the monitor, look through the recordings, and again, nothing. Emptiness. Silence. A handcrafted perfect life where every move my wife made seemed to be calculated several moves ahead. They became cautious. Too cautious. She left no hints. He disappeared from the picture altogether. There were no chance meetings. It seems that he left the city altogether. But that would be too easy. I studied her looks, her conversations with the children, her gait, everything looked real. But I knew it was only until now. She was hiding something. That means he is somewhere nearby. And it was in this state, irritated, tired, sick, that I felt completely helpless. What if she just keeps lying until I break down? What if she has the stamina to live this life for months? Years? I had to hold on to nothing else. No new conversation. No strange visitors. No suspicious behavior. She knew what I suspected, and now she was just waiting. And it was breaking me. And then it hit me. It was a rotten, dirty, morally slippery thought. But it was the only one that moved me. Amelia. Her friend. The only person with whom Julia continued to talk, heart to heart. A woman who never needed a relationship, only profit. A woman who has easily betrayed many men. Why not use this? Because there are people who have a price. And I always suspected that Amelia's price was not that high. I thought about it for several days. It was disgusting. I felt no better than a fraudster or a hitman who orders a job and expects a result. I didn't want to deal with people like her. I earned honestly, raised my business on my own, invested in my family, in my children, in her. And now I was going to buy the truth. But she had already bought the lie at my expense. So why shouldn't I buy the truth at her expense? I found Amelia through social media. I thought for a long time about how to write, what to write. I offered to meet, but to keep it between us. I was waiting for a response, like a verdict. The half an hour I waited seemed like an eternity. And finally I waited. She agreed. But she said only a neutral place. And only one meeting. I chose a cafe on the other side of town. Small, private. No cameras. When she came in, she smiled. Easy, as always. In a stylish raincoat, with big glasses, with the look of someone who realized she had an advantage. Oh, I wonder. My friend's husband asked me out. Her voice was playful, but her eyes were cold. Amelia. I'm not in the mood for jokes. Oh, I know. She sat down. Well, do you want me to confirm something? But I don't know anything at all. I pulled out an envelope. It was a small envelope. Inside was $15,000 in cash. Not much for a millionaire. But for her, it was more than most of her boyfriends had paid for 2 months of living together. She looked at the envelope. Her mouth was slightly open. And what exactly do you want? Her voice was more serious now. I leaned closer. I spoke quietly. Clearly. I want to know the truth. Whether my wife is cheating on me with Steven. When? Where? How often? How long? And if you can, help me know when she's seeing him. I can't wait and guess any longer. I'm not asking you to lie. Just tell me the truth. She was silent. That's for the first answers. If you have more, you'll get more. The silence dragged on. I almost thought she would refuse. But then, what if she finds out? She won't. I'll have your back. She smiled. The money disappeared into her purse as if it had never been there. Deal. Give me some time. She stood up. She walked lightly, like a cat that had just caught a new toy. And I remained sitting there. And I felt my heart clench with fear. Because now I was on the hook. And if she revealed the truth, I would no longer be able to live in illusion. But what if she takes a step to the left? I realized that the risks were too high. But I couldn't wait. I had to know the truth because this uncertainty was driving me crazy. The next meeting with Amelia took place 4 days later. All this time I could not find a place to sit. Every minute stretched like rubber. My head was spinning. Will she tell me? Will she tell me? Will he deceive me? Will he run away with the money? I didn't sleep for almost 2 nights. I drank a lot of coffee. I missed calls from my partners. I couldn't think of anything but one thing. What if this is really going to happen? What if this is the moment when the whole illusion collapses? We met in the same cafe. She came looking stylish again. She wore white sunglasses, a champagne-colored blouse, and red lipstick that seemed to say, "Everything I'm about to say is expensive." "So, how are you doing, Mr. I don't believe in betrayal," she whispered, sitting comfortably across from me. I remained silent. My eyes were staring. "Did you find out anything? Did you bring something?" I pulled out the second envelope, $5,000. Amelia took it carefully, taking her time. She stroked the edge. "This money will bring you more than just peace. It will bring the end of the illusion." I swallowed. "Speak." She moved forward a little, lowered her voice. "On Tuesday. Next week. Your wife has a doctor's appointment with the baby. A cardiologist, if I'm not mistaken. It would seem to be the best alibi. I'm a mom, I'm with my daughter. But, in fact, she will leave the child with a nanny she has known for a long time, and it seems that this is not the first time she has used her. A private nanny. Very expensive, but with a good reputation. The nanny is supposed to come directly to the hospital, take the child, and spend a few hours with him or her. And in the meantime, your wife will be in a room at the Horizon Suites, booked under another name. I froze. Steve? Did you doubt it? They've been together a long time, believe me. But I'm giving you some specific information that will quickly dispel your illusions. My palms were itching. My heart was beating like a drum. These were no longer guesses. These were facts. I gave you the information, you can do what you want with it. But it has to stay between us as we agreed. I understand, I remember. Are you sure you want to know the whole truth? I gritted my teeth. I want to know the truth. Even if it burns me. Amelia smiled. And then she changed her expression. She got serious. Her eyes stopped playing. She looked at me more directly than ever. I have something else. One thing. It's not a trifle. And it's definitely not free. What is it? She was silent for a moment. I'll tell you, but not now. It will cost you more. Because it changes everything. If you're willing to pay, I'll sell it to you. But think about it. Does this involve her and Steven? Straight up. Is this something I need to know? If you want to know who really lives in the same house as you, yes. We agreed. I'll give you the answer after Tuesday. After the meeting at the hotel. Amelia stood up. And for the first time in all our meetings, she did not smile. And I realized that her last words were a warning. He was sitting in a black sedan with tinted windows a block away from the hotel. My hired detective is Jason. He used to work for a private security agency that we used for company events. He's reliable. He was careful. Most importantly, he did not ask unnecessary questions. He knew only one thing. You want to confirm the betrayal. With evidence. No noise. I was sitting in my office. I was looking at my laptop screen. In front of me was a blank document with the words Marketing Budget Q3. But my thoughts were not about the budget at all. It was the same day. It was Tuesday. I could have just ignored it, not answered it, told myself maybe it's not true. But I already knew everything. My intuition had been screaming for a long time. The cameras were silent, but witnesses don't lie when they're paid to. And so, 13:06, the phone lights up. Mobile phone with Thero, we went to the Horizon Suites. She, him. They kept their distance but got into the same elevator. She was without a child. I'm sending photos. 3 photos. The first one is of her at the entrance to the hotel. The second is of Steven in a dark blue shirt with a phone in his hand looking around. The third is of both of them sideways against the background of the elevator doors. And one short video from a camera in the lobby from the hotel security. For a fee, they enter the room together. I held the phone in my hands until my fingers went numb. That was it. Not a guess, not jealousy. It was a fact. She had betrayed me. With him. At the very time when she was supposed to be in the hospital with our child. And that meant only one thing. I could no longer live under the same roof as her. That same evening I contacted my lawyer, Victor Morris. He is not just a lawyer. He is a shark. One of those who remembers everything, says little, and wins a lot. We met in his office. I can't live with her anymore. And I don't want her to take a single shred of what I've built with her. You want to fight? I want justice. And revenge. He looked at me. He put down his glass of water. Good. But you have to play it smart. Not with emotion. I've been collecting evidence. I have recordings, photos, cameras. That's strong. Especially if you can prove that the affair took place in the presence of the children or at times when she was supposed to be looking after them. I nodded. That's exactly what happened. The hospital, the nanny, the hotel. Everything is documented. He wrote it down carefully. Okay. Let's start preparing. Your goal is to remain the owner of everything, property, company, custody of the children? But this evidence is not enough. We need more. When I got home, Julia was sitting in the kitchen. She was smiling. Hi, honey. Is everything okay? I looked at her and nodded. Yeah, just a hard day. A lot of work. She came over and hugged me. I let her, but not because I wanted to, but because I was already building up to the moment when she would leave this house forever. Without a hug, without words, without anything. He was sitting in the same coffee shop where it all began. It smelled like strong Arabica and fresh croissants. Soft music. The barista's smiles. People were drinking lattes and discussing movies. Life was going on. And in it, something was turning on. Something dark. Something precise. He was waiting for her again. The one who sold pieces of someone else's truth for money. Amelia. She was 11 minutes late. She entered, as usual, easily, without hurrying. She sat down across from me. She took off her sunglasses. Do you have it with you, dear? I silently put the envelope on the table. $20,000. I hope it's worth it. This piece of truth will break you if you're not ready. But I warned you. She glanced around. She leaned closer. She spoke softly, very quietly. Your youngest daughter. She had long suspected that it might not be yours. But she didn't want to check, because she was afraid. During the period when you were away on business trips, she was with him. All the time, for weeks on end. And she knew that Steve didn't hide behind anything. Even her gynecologist friend asked her about it. When she found out she was pregnant, she just pretended that everything was fine. And she said that you guys had made up. I felt sick to my stomach. No, not anger. It was something else. Disintegration. She didn't want to take the test. Because she knew that if it wasn't yours, everything would fall apart. And she already had a house, comfort, the status. The child only consolidated everything. And if it wasn't yours, then it was a scandal, a fall. And back to my small apartment. I felt as if someone was squeezing my heart with their bare hands. Lily, my baby. I played with her. I rocked her. I held her first bottle when she was teething. And her? She watched me do it and knew that maybe I wasn't her father. Amelia bowed her head. I don't say this lightly, but you paid for the truth. And you got it. After a moment of silence, I said, I want more. She raised an eyebrow. I want to know when they meet next. She doesn't leave her phone off anymore. So, I want you to put a bug on it. A tracker. A bug. Something. Anything. Amelia thought about it. For a moment. This is very slippery ice, darling. You said she wasn't your friend. Neither was I. She smiled. To be honest, I never liked her. It was just a matter of profit. And now I'm planning to move. Another state. A new project. New faces. New life. She pulled out her phone. I'll do it. Just give me a day. Maybe two. You'll have access to everything. I didn't thank her. I didn't nod. Because there was no gratitude in me anymore. Only the goal. When she got up and left, I stayed sitting. I looked through the glass at the world that went on. And inside, everything was already burned. I no longer doubted. I was no longer waiting. Now I acted. Amelia did it surprisingly quickly. Everything is ready. The set. And I already have a new date. This time she's hiding behind a manicurist and a friend from the university. They're supposed to meet up, drink wine, and reminisce. In reality, she's meeting Stephen again. Same hotel, different room. The bug worked perfectly. I had access to the audio. It was recorded directly from her phone, through a hidden program. For the first time in my life, I could hear my wife. Not for me, not with the kids, not in everyday life. But as she was behind my back. I was sitting in the darkness of my office. Headphones on my head. A laptop and an audio file next to me. And a nervous tremor in my fingers. I pressed play. First, there was silence. Then the click of the door. Her voice. Damn it, I thought you weren't coming. Her husband's voice. Stephen, I was there, I just didn't want to be seen together. That's paranoia. No, your husband. He's not that stupid. I don't know how much longer we can take this. Silence. Wait. What about Lily? The nanny. Again. For 2 hours. Are you sure you were careful? I know him. If he has the slightest suspicion, he won't just stop. I think so. I told him I had a manicure and a meeting with a friend today. He believed me. We have to be extra careful now. If everything falls apart, I will get nothing. Then he heard them, not just talking. I realized that my wife, whom I loved, was there with another man. I pressed pause. My head felt like it was in a vice. There was pain in my chest. Not resentment. Not resentment. It was the pain of betrayal. The pain of a man who finds out that he has been deceived to the very heart. The next day I went to the clinic. DNA analysis. Simple, fast, no publicity. The sample is a swab from the child's cheek and hair, which I took the day before. My saliva in a sterile bag. A signature. And waiting. The results came back in 3 days. 997% you are not the child's biological father. I was sitting in the car, holding the results in my hands. The streets flashed outside the windows, but I couldn't see them. There was only one thing in my head. She knew. She always knew. And she let me believe that this was my child. I fed her. I flew with her in my arms. I built a room with fairy tale walls. And she watched me love another man's child. Her real husband, her choice. I drove straight to the office of Victor, my lawyer. Ready? He asked. More than ever. I put all the cards on the table. Small blue diamond audio from the bug. Small blue diamond photos and videos from the hotel. Small blue diamond DNA results. Small blue diamond a clear description of how she used a nanny, lied about her whereabouts, lied to me and the kids. Victor looked through the documents. Then he looked up. That's it. Now we have a solid case. We will go for a full divorce with proven infidelity, fraud, concealment of paternity. Will she get anything? We will make sure she gets nothing. And Stephen? If he is the father of the child, let him raise him. But not me. No. Not a dime. Go ahead. I want this to be over. Once and for all. I signed all the documents that week. Victor said, now let's start everything at the same time. A lawsuit for divorce with proven infidelity. An official acknowledgement that the child is not yours. A demand for complete custody of your eldest daughter. Eviction from the house you bought before you met your wife. A ban on using the joint account. Transfer of property, company, house to you. No alimony for her. An obligation to establish paternity for Stephen. I stood in his office, my fingers holding the pen. But in my heart, there was only one thing. I couldn't live a lie anymore. I couldn't feed the baby she made with him in my bed anymore. And I couldn't let her keep any of the things I was building. I signed it. That's it. Let's get started, Victor said. A few days later, I came home late. On the doorstep, I realized that she knew something. The light in the kitchen was dimmed. I could smell lavender, her scented candles. I walked in and saw her. She was sitting on a chair. No makeup on. Her hair was tousled. Her eyes were crying. In front of her on the table was a divorce letter. A copy. She had already read it. She looked up. Did you file? I was silent. She stood up. She came closer. Please. Listen. It's not what you think. I was wrong. It was weakness. I didn't mean to. Please don't ruin everything. We can get through this. I was standing. I was stone cold. For the first time in my life, I looked at her and saw nothing familiar. I lived for years with a woman who lied to my face. I didn't just forgive her, I built a home. I fought for my business, for my family, for you. And you made a baby with a driver. And you let me love her, carry her in my arms, feed her. And all this with a fake thank you in your eyes. She's a baby, she screamed. Are you really giving her away like that? She's not mine, I answered calmly. And now she's yours. Yours and Stephen's. It's still family. No. That's a lie. And I'm not in it anymore. She fell to her knees. She was crying. She held my pants like in a cheap movie. She was screaming. I'll do anything. I'll give up Stephen. I'll change. Please don't take Emily away. She loves you. I looked down at her. That's why I'm taking her. Because she's mine. Because she deserves the truth. And a life without a toxic mother who'll teach her that love is a bargain. I left her in the kitchen. I went upstairs. I went to Emily's room. She was already asleep. Her cheeks were calm. Her pillow was with a unicorn that I gave her for her 9th birthday. I sat down next to her. I touched her hand. Everything will change. But you will be safe. I promise. Courtrooms have a specific smell. Wood. Paper. Anxiety. As if everything here has long been accustomed to human tragedies. And nothing is surprising anymore. I was sitting on the left in a strict gray suit. Next to me was my lawyer, Victor. Confident, calm, with a suitcase containing the whole truth about the last 3 years of my life. Opposite him is she, Julia, in black. No makeup. Her hair is tied back. Her face is pale. Her lawyer is next to her, a young woman with a nervous look and tons of documents that could not cover the main thing, betrayal. The judge was stern. She was collected. Emotionless. We are starting case number. A lawsuit for divorce, child custody, recognition of absence of paternity, division of property. Does the defendant have a plea? Your Honor, my client believes that she did not cheat in the formal sense. The marriage was in crisis. She is sorry. She asks to keep in touch with her daughter. I gritted my teeth. We have proof. Audio recordings, videos, testimony, DNA, and most importantly, a complete lack of remorse until the truth came out. The judge listened for hours. There were interrogations. There was a nanny who testified that she had repeatedly taken the child for an hour while the mother solved her business. There was a hotel statement. There was a DNA test. Your Honor, the test shows with a probability of 99.997% that the plaintiff is not the biological father of the second child. She broke down while reading it out. Julia grabbed her head. She started to cry. The tears were flowing. She was whispering something and her lawyer was squeezing her hand. This is a mistake, please, this can't be true. But it was too late. I watched and felt nothing. Except for the pressure in my chest. Not from anger. Not from anger. But from the fact that everything was over. Irrevocably. The judge has finished the hearing. The court decides. To satisfy the divorce claim. To recognize that the plaintiff is not the father of the second child. To grant full custody of the first child, Emily, to the plaintiff. To grant the defendant the right to see the child twice a week under supervision according to the schedule established by the guardianship service. All movable and immovable joint property shall be transferred to the plaintiff. Alimony from the plaintiff is not provided. The room fell silent. I looked at Victor. He nodded. This is a victory. Legally. But it was not a joy. It was the end. When I left the hall, she was sitting in the corridor. She was crying. The hysteria had subsided. I walked past her. She tried to catch my eye. I looked at her directly. For the first time as if at a stranger. And I said, I loved you. I would have forgiven everything except that you allowed me to be a father to someone else's child. I could accept the betrayal. But not with the fact that you deprived me of the right to choose. You have lost everything. But it wasn't me who punished you. It was you. I left. Without looking back. 2 months have passed since the court decision. The house is now completely mine. Empty. Quiet. But honest. I lived with Emily. We cooked breakfast together, watched movies on weekends, went to workouts, painted. And even though sometimes her eyes were shadowed, I always sat down next to her and talked to her for a long time. I didn't think about Julia. Not because I had forgiven her. But because nothing burned inside me anymore. Everything was burnt. To the ground. Only ashes remained. And new soil on it. I went back to business. The company lived. The management respected me. Customers trusted it. And then, one evening I received a message. From Amelia. A social network. An account with a new name. But I recognized it, an avatar with a shadow of her profile with a hint of her voice. Hi. I heard you had a trial. And that you got divorced. I was just wondering if my information really helped. I stared at the screen for a long time. My fingers froze over the keyboard. Then I started typing. Yes. Your information did help. It didn't make me happier. But it made me free. I used it to find the truth. And not to live the rest of my life in a lie next to a woman who was given to me by the world and who betrayed me. To be completely honest, I continued, I wouldn't want to have friends like you. But you know, my ex-wife probably deserves them. She betrayed me and was betrayed in return. Everything is fair. Everything is logical. I pressed send. She did not respond. And honestly, I didn't want her to. One morning Emily asked me an unexpected question. Dad, will you ever love someone again? I shrugged my shoulders. I smiled. Maybe. But definitely not as unconditionally as before. You know what's important? Loving does not mean closing your eyes. It means seeing everything and staying close. And not deceive as long as it's convenient. She nodded. I want to be like you. Strong. And honest. And this story has taught me a lot. If you feel that something is wrong, it's not paranoia. It's intuition. Don't delay the truth. It never kills as much as a daily lie. Don't be afraid to lose someone who has lost you long ago. And most importantly, teach yourself to be happy not because of someone, but in spite of someone, because the truth is not always a victory, but it is always freedom.